bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fiend Podcast with your hosts, Zay, Young Vander, and Bro Joe.
Hello, and welcome back to the best fantasy football podcast on the air, the Fantasy Football Fiend Podcast, presented to you by Manscaped. I'm your host, Zay, the Fantasy Football Fiend himself, and I got my bro with me, the Fantasy Phenom, Young Vander. Holla at the people.
Fantasy Fiends, what's going on out there?
Yo, we got a lot going on, headed into another playoff week. Hopefully, you were able to make it through, at least in a couple of your leagues. If you're anything like me, I'm in like 5 leagues. I made it through on 3 of them. Keeping fingers crossed, we can get a couple of hashtag Fantasy Football Fiend championships working out. We are going to make sure that you know what's going on with the playoffs, your matchups, all that kind of good stuff. You guys go ahead and make sure that you hit up the Facebook group and you hit up the YouTube channel. We have major changes coming in the new year. We'll have a little bit of a hiatus after the fantasy playoffs. Then we'll kind of go from there. We'll kind of keep you abreast of the changes, a little bit of a rebrand, a little bit of differences, if you will, that'll kind of make sports a little bit more all-encompassing and still giving you all the fantasy information that you need. So make sure you look out for that. This week, we're going to give you your news and notes. We're going to give you your playoff prep, your rapid fire 10. But let's go ahead and start it out with your news.
And now your fantasy news.
All right, so we have a few things going on as far as news is concerned. One of the, I would say, things that's going on that kind of has the most implications as far as playoffs is concerned is the Indianapolis Colts. They have their Zach Moss is going to possibly play, but also may just be a backup. Jonathan Taylor may be good to go. My question is, because I know this is, and I know we're starting out with running back instead of quarterback, but this may be one of the more important pieces on the chessboard this week. Are we starting Jonathan Taylor off top? Or if it's a Moss-Taylor combo, are we kind of thinking about giving him a week? Well, we may not have next week, but do we feel confident about what Taylor's going to bring to the table this week if he's able to go? And right now it's looking like he's been deemed as being ready for week 16.
Yeah, don't get cute, man. Play Taylor. You drafted him. This is why you drafted him. He has came back in time to save you. You know,
touche.
I think it was a thumb injury.
I think he had thumb surgery, if I'm not mistaken.
So yeah, it's not like he's coming off an Achilles or ACL or something. You playing him? No, it's a hand injury. So yeah, I'm gearing him up, playing him as your RB1. You know what I'm saying? This is why you drafted a guy. You're lucky that he has come back to help you if you made it thus far. But if it's
my only fear is, he gets hit on that hand or something and he's immediately, I don't know enough about, the thumb surgery type of situation to know whether or not it's more likely that if he gets hit on it, if it hits a helmet, if it gets bent back, something like that, if it can be a situation of flaring up or swelling up, or if it makes fumbling more likely or anything like that. That was my only reticence in not knowing enough about the injury in of itself to kind of know what may shake out, if that makes sense.
Well, he got 2 thumbs. So if one's bad, he probably carried the ball in the other a lot more. You know what I mean? So nah, give me Taylor with no fear. I'm playing him with confidence.
Okay. Another guy that moving on over our quarterbacks, and we'll get back to some of the other running back news, but a quarterback that some people were surprisingly depending on. So maybe you aren't quite in the same boat as with the Jonathan Taylor where you had to draft him early, but CJ Stroud is likely to be held out 2 weeks now with this concussion issue. So I know we were saying last week, it could be a 1 week thing. Some people are back and ready to go within the week. Others, it may be multiple weeks. It looks like with him, it's going to be multiple weeks. So does this now put everyone that's on the Texans on the bench? If Nico Collins comes back, really Nico and maybe if you were hard up at running back, you may have been trying to utilize Singletary. But Are we feeling comfortable at all with any of the pieces with the main guy going?
No. Well, if Nico comes back, I probably like the. It's one of those situations like last week I had like Brown
Noah
do
Brown, yeah.
only guy, you know what I'm saying, in the room. So if another guy's added to the room, then therefore I kind of like don't like either one of y'all. You know, if you have two, I don't like none. If you got one, I like one because he be the guy that's targeted the most. Keenum, he's a veteran. He's played in this league, but in all, even if Stroud was available, I'm not playing him. They're playing the Cleveland Browns, and this is a win
Facts.
type of week. So I wouldn't be confident playing him anyway. I mean, of course you know you have to, but I'm a CJ Stroud owner, and if he was clear this week, I still wasn't gonna play him. So
Okay, let me ask you this. You bring up the Cleveland Browns, and I know I'm kind of skipping all over the place here, but this is going to help out somebody. Cleveland Browns against the Houston Texans. Let's say CJ Stroud is out. Green Bay versus Carolina, or Buffalo versus how did I forget that quick? Buffalo had the Chargers, who the Raiders defense just beat up, and the Bills defense was able to put foots in the Cowboys. So who's your number one defense for this week?
Give me Cleveland.
Cleveland? Okay.
Because Cleveland, I mean, I get it why you say it because due to the backup quarterbacks that's playing, but the overall better.
Well, no, with Carolina, just because their offense is horrible. Like against a bad defense, they only put up like 10 points.
Yeah.
And going against Green Bay, I mean, Green Bay has been able to slow down some pretty decent teams. So, you know, just trying to get a feel for.
Yeah, I'll probably go Cleveland because I just more comfortable. I get it, you know, some of those other matchups look more juicier, but Cleveland is the better defense,
True.
you know, versus anybody versus, you know, a Young or a Stick, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just give me Cleveland.
Even with what you saw the Raiders do to the Chargers last week, because I honestly just feel like the Chargers have given up for the year.
But you know what?
And Keenan Allen ain't coming back.
Two things. Stick came back and had a pretty decent fantasy game. That's number one.
Yeah.
But garbage.
Yeah.
Two, their coach was fired. So don't forget about that.
Okay. Yeah. Win one for the Gipper this week.
So
I got you.
In my opinion, I know some of those Eckler owners been very frustrated the last couple of weeks, like myself. Did not give him no carries, but now with the coach out the way, look for him to fire him back up. Like, you know, I don't think it'll be no carousel over there. I think he's gonna be the man. Those interim coaches tend to, you know, go with the guns.
Go with the guy. You got to.
So
you can't take a chance on looking bad as an interim coach.
We seen with the Raiders, right? Jacobs.
Facts.
Once Pierce got in there, they start, you know, handing the rock. So yeah, I'm still gonna take him.
Indeed. We have not so much fantasy news here, but Aaron Rodgers was activated. It's funny. He was activated, but he is also not going to play any games the rest of the season, which I kind of figured that was going to be the case once the Jets were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. I think that's basically their way of saying if Zach Wilson could have got it together like one more game, you might have seen Aaron Rodgers play again this year. But that's where we are as far as that's concerned. Joe Flacco. He's been a little bit of a fantasy darling for a few people that had quarterback issues going on. He's listed with a calf injury. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. So the fact that he made practice at all on Wednesday kind of tells me that he should be good to go. But are you looking for Joe Flacco to kind of stay with the hot hand, or is this the, you know, carriage turning back into the pumpkin type of situation? Because if not for a few plays in the fourth quarter and then they're needing to be overtime, a lot of people that made it to this week might not have made it that were dependent on Flacco. I know I was in that situation to whereas if it weren't for the overtime and it weren't for that touchdown in the fourth quarter, I might be at home in a couple of well, not a couple of the leagues, but one league that I'm in where I was using Flacco because CJ Stroud was hurt. So what do you think about Flacco?
I like Flacco. I like the matchup that he has. So yeah, I'm actually playing Flacco. You know, this is the strangest fantasy season I've seen ever. Where because you had at least 75% of the league has played with another quarterback versus their starting quarterback on day. And right now, I'm in the semis with 2 backups. You know what I mean? So it's just been that type of season. But yeah, I like Flacco. I like the matchup that he has. And I like the connection that he's building with some of the receivers on the team, especially like Njoku.
We have another quarterback who is the starter that's now coming back. I don't necessarily know if we should trust him, but I want to get your opinion on it. Geno Smith is back. He was able to get into full practice on Wednesday. He was coming back from that groin injury. Drew Lock was able to play the role of the hero and take out the Eagles this past week. How do we feel about Geno this coming week? Are we just those that, were in that backup quarterback situation, continue to roll with your backup, or are you throwing Geno back out there?
Man, it depends on what your backup is.
Indeed.
But I mean, I feel about Geno like I felt about him during the whole season. Like Geno hasn't been nothing. He hasn't been a Geno of last year. So he's
Facts, yeah.
on the road, throughout the year. If you have a better matchup, then don't be afraid to play the better matchup. But more than likely, if you have Geno, he's probably your flex quarterback. In those type of leagues, he's probably not your number 1 quarterback in a 1 quarterback league. But don't be afraid to play him. I mean, if you have nothing left, I mean, of course, play him. But if you have a better option, for instance, maybe a guy like Mullins, to be honest with you, he may be a guy that I might not be afraid to play over Geno. Who does Seattle have this week?
Seattle is going up against, let's see here,
the Cardinals,
the Titans. So they have more of a run stopping defense than they have.
Yeah, I might like Geno better than, because that's a good matchup.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I'm cool playing Geno against the Titans.
Got Kenny Pickett that's still going to be on the mend. It doesn't look like he'd be coming back for another couple weeks. Tomlin made the comment that he should be ready for the playoffs. I don't know that the Steelers are going to make the playoffs in this moment in time. But with that being said, the move that has been made is Mason Rudolph is now going to be the starting quarterback. They're moving away from Mitch Trubisky. So, yeah, I don't have very much. I have more confidence in Mason Rudolph as an NFL quarterback to kind of hold it in the road than I do for fantasy. And when I say hold it in the road, I mean, he's not going to win the game for you, but he's probably not going to have turnovers the way the other two have. So your defense and running game can kind of get you to where you need to go if your opponent doesn't put up too many points on you. It's kind of how I'm looking at the Steelers this week. But yeah, I don't have any confidence at all fantasy-wise as far as Mason Rudolph is concerned. There has to be another option, unless you're in a 2-quarterback league where you're literally just scraping the waiver wire and hoping to replace somebody who, maybe was a blank spot or something like that, or somebody just got hurt and you only had that guy on your team. But outside of that, yeah, I don't see Rudolph being anything.
I feel about this. Those 3 Steelers quarterbacks is the example of when they ask you, how do you want to go? And when you got you got the death penalty, you want firing range, you want electric chair, or you want lethal injection. You're still gonna die. You know what I mean? So it don't really matter. So that's how I feel about those 3 guys. Anybody in the Steelers offense is just bad.
Yeah, I feel you on that. So now we have an injury that one of our Wolverines may not be able to fight through. Trevor Lawrence, he had that ankle sprain, which normally puts people down for a few weeks. He was back the next week. Now he has a concussion. That it isn't up to him or his pain tolerance or anything else as far as that is concerned. And we just saw what a concussion did with CJ Stroud as far as putting him down for a couple weeks. So I don't even know if we can extrapolate, our thought process as far as whether or not he will be able to, because I definitely didn't see CJ Stroud being out for 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Lawrence, but I don't even know how to. I mean, I guess you go ahead and pick up CJ Beathard just in case. I would start CJ Beathard over a Mason Rudolph if you're one of those people in that situation where, Lawrence was your second guy and you don't have, bench quarterbacks and you're just trying to scrounge the waiver wire for a guy to start. Maybe you want to go ahead and pick up Beathard before the news comes out that he will or won't play this week. But outside of that, are are there any guys that you could think of that probably aren't picked up just yet that you might be able to pivot to? I know in most 2 QB leagues, your Brownings of the world have already been picked up. Your even your Aiden O'Connells of the world, the Raiders quarterback, after what he did last week, people might have picked him up as just a dart throw just in case. But anybody else that's out there that has been recently put out there
Taylor
that may
Heineke.
work? Heineke, good call. Yeah. For those that didn't know, Ritter's been benched again. I think this is it for Ritter. You get benched once, it could be just trying to shake you up a little bit and kind of put a fire under you. You get benched multiple times, they have no faith in you anymore. So, yeah, Heineke would definitely be the route to take. Ryan Tannehill, he may start. Levis is a guy that has an ankle injury. If he's unable to play, then Tannehill to start. That may be another guy that you want to just, pick up off of waivers if you're having QB issues. Of all the guys that we've talked about thus far, Tannehill would probably be the one that I would have, I would say the most faith in. Not guarantee you that he would have the best fantasy week, but he's the guy that I would have the most faith in if you have to throw a dart at a quarterback. And that's also calculating whether or not Levis is going to go. So it'd be better to have him and not need him than need him and not have him, as far as that's concerned. Let's go ahead and go over to the running backs. Not a whole lot going on with running backs. Kenneth Walker III is tending to an injury. He has a shoulder injury, not exactly sure how significant that may be, but you may want to have a pivot just in case he can't go. We didn't think that the Isaiah Pacheco injury was going to be that serious, and he's been out now multiple weeks, so have a pivot for him. Devon Achane set out practice again, dealing with this toe injury. He was able to go this past week, but he didn't do a whole lot. So if you have a pivot, is it worth sitting Achane this week, or is he lightning in a bottle and you're going to be highly upset with yourself if you take the risk on not starting him? What is more of the risk? Not starting him in the playoffs or starting him in the playoffs with his toe injury?
Well, me personally, I am an Achane owner, and I'm going to pivot.
Likewise.
So
Okay.
that makes sense. He is lightning in a bottle, but the volume is not there. Mostert is having a career year. For example, I got Cuba Hubbard, and that's somebody I would play in front of Achane right now because Hubbard is getting the volume. He just came off like a 25 carry game. The week before that thing is 22, 23 carries. So the last 3 games, he's getting over 20 carries. And he has a matchup against Green Bay, right? Who's not that good against the run. So it's a lot likely that, he can maybe get a touchdown. Of course, Achane get a touchdown as well, but him come off a 9-carry game, not practicing already this week, it's just not something I want to mess with. So
you got Kareem Hunt limited in practice, still dealing with the groin. Jerome Ford listed as a minor wrist injury, so he'll still be the guy. Alexander Madison, no practice reps on Wednesday. So the guys that went with Chandler last week, can we expect a little bit more of the same this week? Or are we thinking that, that may have been lightning in a bottle, and Minnesota going up against Detroit may not necessarily get the same results as far as Chandler is concerned if Madison doesn't go?
I don't like that matchup. I mean, Detroit, I think, is pretty good against the run, right?
They got a pretty good defensive line.
Right. So, but I mean, yeah, I like Chandler. I mean, we spoke about Chandler before, long time ago. So people probably not catching up. The dude is super talented.
Yeah.
That's not, something that's not there, but his matchup is not the greatest. But yeah, why not? I mean, ride it. It depends on what what else you have, but definitely ride that out.
Going on over to wide receivers. Not a whole lot going on with wide receiver, which is a good thing during the playoffs. Most of the guys that you can depend on, you will be able to. Other than the big name right now is Chase. Jamar Chase is having, I want to say he had a shoulder issue, if I'm not mistaken. And right now he's sidelined as far as Wednesday is concerned. Not exactly sure what's going to happen by Sunday, but is Chase a guy that most people have been dependent on that may not be there on Sunday? And if he can't go, how does that affect your opinion of Browning?
Browning been playing really well. And I do like him Chase being there with him. But
Mhm.
I mean, the Higgins owners, I mean, you've been holding this guy,
Waiting. Right.
all year long. He hasn't been a benefit at all. But now is when the time is right. You know what I'm saying? He just had his biggest game of the year last week, and I'm
Yeah.
looking for him to have another huge game because he should get peppered with targets. So and Browning, I mean, he's showing, pretty comfortable, playing
Yeah.
pretty well. So maybe, yeah, I'm okay. Even Chase not on the field, maybe we see Boyd get a little more love. He has been
That's what
throwing.
I was going to say. DFS wise, Boyd would be a cheap wide receiver that's going to get
That
peppered with
tight end,
targets if
the
Chase
tight
don't
end
go.
as well. What's the tight end?
Hudson.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of think may get a lot more targets because they have seemed to have a rapport. So I may like Hudson more than like Boyd. Um, but some of the younger guys who like the Elias the Isova. Okay, I don't know his last name.
Yeah. I don't know how to spell his last name. I
Check
mean,
it
I
out
don't
as
know how
well.
to pronounce his last name, but I know you're
Yeah,
talking about.
Andre. I
I
think
know it
that's
starts
what
with an
Andre. Yeah,
I.
AI. We call him AI. So
Yeah,
AI.
yeah, yeah. And then you
Yeah,
got your boy Irwin, I believe his name is.
Clinton Irwin.
Yeah, you
But he's
got
more like
Irwin as well.
the other guys. One of his favorites. Burrow. He's on both.
Chase Brown, another guy. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He seems to get a lot more burn as of late. And Mixon is kind of the pounded guy. He can get touches out of the back. Targets out of the backfield as well, but it seems like they've been kind of splitting that up just a little bit and kind of trying to get Chase Brown a little bit more involved as far as the pass game is concerned. And that guy is swift. I mean, like he can go. So that's another guy. If you're having some issues and you need to possibly find somebody on the waiver, that may be someone that you can go with. Nico Collins still dealing with a calf injury. He was limited in practice. Treylon Burks missed practice this week. The Tavion Wicks of Green Bay dealing with an ankle injury. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine lands on IR. He had a pretty decent game this past week out of nowhere. And he ended up on IR with a hand injury. So we have that going. Chris Godwin is dealing with a knee injury. Tutu Atwell has been cleared for the Thursday night game from his concussion, so he'll be able to go. And am I missing anything that you could think of from the news?
Hmm. No, nothing I could think of right off the
I
top.
think that pretty much covers the news for this week. So let's go ahead and get into rapid fire 10.
All right, man. Here we go. Rapid fire 10. Rapid fire 10. We got 10 quick questions. We need 10 quick answers. This is week 16, playoff edition. Can't afford to lose
Is
now. You're
there
probably in your semis. And this win this week is going to take you to your championship game. So let's go. People want to know. We got Nick Mullins or Danny DeVito.
So we have Nick Mullins going up against Detroit, and the Giants are going to be going up
Philly.
against Philly. Yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with Mullins. I got a feeling that Philly's going to come out with a point to prove after taking that L. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Mullins.
We got Brian Zappi
Okay.
or Mason Rudolph.
Oh, sheesh. I guess I'm gonna have to go with. I guess I'm gonna go with Zappy. Um, yeah, I'm gonna roll with Zappy. The over under is pretty low in that Patriots Broncos game, but the over under is low in the Pittsburgh game as well. So yeah, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna go Rudolph. I'm gonna go Rudolph. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go with Zappy. The Bengals defense has actually been decent. So Steelers going up against the Bengals. I'm a roll with Zappy. The Broncos give up a few points here and there. So I'm a roll with Zappy. But that's close right there.
Mhm. We got Clyde Edwards-Helaire
Okay.
or Chandler.
I'm gonna roll with. I'm gonna stand. Both of them in the flames right now. But I think I'm gonna have to roll with it. Clyde. He has a better offense overall.
All right. We got Ezekiel Elliott or Derrick Henry.
Hmm.
That's crazy. That's how that's
I
how
know, right?
football is right now.
I think Henry has the bigger likelihood of a touchdown, so I'm gonna go with the guy that's more likely to get a touchdown this week.
Okay. We got what's this one? Jackson Smith and Jigba
Okay.
or Zay Flowers.
Oh, JSN for sure. The Titans secondary is subpar, and Flowers only got one target this past week, so I'm not going to. Luckily, I was able to get a couple of other guys that had double the points, so Flowers didn't get me sent home. But yeah, we were pivoting from Flowers. Yeah, hard pivot.
Okay, we got Jonathan Mingo or
Okay.
George Pickens.
Pickens, easy one for me. Pickens.
Okay. Moving on. We got Dalton Kincaid or Hunter Henry.
Kincaid may still be a little nicked up. He's dealing with a bit of an injury. I think I'm gonna roll with Henry.
Well, Henry also got Taysom Hill
Okay.
or Kyle Pitts.
uh, the Colts don't have that good of a defense, so I think I'm gonna roll with Pitts. I
You just ain't learn, huh? You just won't
I just
learn.
well, I
You
mean, Hill. I mean, they've been using Jawan Johnson a lot at tight end. It's a lot going on with the Saints offense right now. And when Hill was kind of like the utility guy, if he didn't get in one way, he was going to get in another. I'd say Hill easily. But as of late, he's just been a backup in any place that he ends up getting in. Juwan Howard is the starting tight end. Carr is the starting quarterback. They're not putting him in on the goal line at running back in a wildcat situation. So it's like, if you're just going to be a backup, I'm going to take the starter.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got a defensive question.
Okay.
It's going to be the Washington Commanders or the Denver Broncos. So that's the Broncos against the Patriots. The Commanders got the Jets.
I think I'm actually going to have to go with Washington. I don't see the Jets having a means to put up points. The Patriots have shown us in a couple of games as Zappy that lightning may strike, but well, I can say the same thing with Zach Wilson though. Lightning has striked a couple times. Aaron Rodgers is back in the fold, kind of having him under his wing. I think the Jets could probably put up a few points on Washington. I'll go with the Broncos. I'll go with the Broncos.
Last but not least, flex question. We got Joe Mixon or Jalen Waddle.
Ooh. Am I assuming that Hill is playing this week? Because that's going to make a huge difference for me. If I'm assuming that Hill is playing this week, then I'm going to go with Mixon. And the reason for that is I kind of feel like they still want to do everything possible to get Tyreek those 2,000 yards. And with him missing the game, they're probably going to purposely give him several more targets that might have just gone to the man that's open. So I can kind of see them focusing on Tyreek to get him to that 2,000 yards. Meanwhile, if Chase is out, Mixon may actually get more usage than what he was getting before. So, but if Hill is out, Waddle for sure. So that's how I answer that one.
So that concludes our Rapid Fire 10.
Rapid Fire 10. All right, good people. Let's go ahead and get into these matchups. Thursday night, we have the Saints going up against the Rams. This is a 46-point over-under, which is a little bit higher for Thursday night games. We've seen a few Thursday night games that have kind of moved the meter a little bit, but New Orleans is getting the 4 points. So the Rams are expected to win here. I know New Orleans has a pretty good defense, but Kupp, Puka, Tyron Williams, start them if you got them. Not trying to get cute right now. The Saints, Kamara, start them if you got them. Olave is a little nicked up. He may be going, but it's not 100%. He's been cleared. Cool. Well, Olave, if you got him, maybe as a flex. But outside of that, there really aren't any Saints that I'm like chomping at the bit to put out there. So this is one of those matchups where I would say start the guys that you would normally start and don't second guess your starters, if that makes sense. Bengals up against the Steelers. This is a 37-point over-under and a divisional matchup. Pittsburgh is getting 2 points, and they are at home, if I'm not mistaken. So that's kind of interesting. They're not giving the visiting team the points there. So they expect Cincinnati to win this for sure. What you got on this matchup?
Oh, Steelers, man. Scratch the wide receivers all together. If you're digging deep, I like Pat Freiermuth, being that the Bengals are one of the worst teams in the league against the tight end.
Okay.
And with Mason Rudolph playing, there may be some familiarity there.
Yeah.
I do like maybe Najee Harris is questionable. But he's been questionable the last couple of weeks and still played. He is likely he can get you a touchdown here or there. Don't expect nothing big, but him and Warren probably the only guys I'm comfortable with playing on that offense at all, period. On the Cincinnati side of the ball, like I said on earlier, T. Higgins,
Right.
congratulations. You know what I'm saying? He may be a winner for you this year. Also, Joe Mixon, we speak about if you're in a deeper league, Chase Brown, like you're probably in a deep league. Chase Brown probably be a guy that you'll play. And if you're in a flex league, I'm okay with playing Brown in that. He's been scoring over 20 points. He's averaging over 20 fantasy points. And that's 3 or 4 starts that he's starting. So.
Bills versus Chargers. And by the way, all the games that we've gone over so far are Saturday games. Make sure that you remember to set your lineups a little early. We have the Thursday, then we have Saturday and Sunday this week. Bills versus Chargers. That's going to be a 44-point over-under. And the Chargers are getting 12 points. And they are at home. Yeah. Vegas and I both agree this is going to be a knockout punch fairly early. I guess if you have Eckler, you should probably start him because he's going to be able to get the ball both running and receiving. Outside of that, I'll say, you know what? I'll say on the Charger side of the ball, I might take a dart throw at Palmer. He's going to be the wide receiver 1, and they're going to be behind from the get. So they're going to have to throw the ball the entire time, and somebody's going to have to catch it. And garbage time, points count too. So Palmer may be a guy that I'll throw on the flex if need be. With Buffalo, start him if you got him. Allen, Cook, Diggs, even Gabe. I know he's on again, off again, but, Buffalo, start him if you got him. Browns versus Texans, 40-point over-under. Houston is getting 2.5 points at home. What you got on this one?
Texans. I like Flacco in this game. I do like Njoku, who's been red hot as of late. Still kind of like, I haven't seen the Amari Cooper stand up, the Elijah Moore, those guys, not so much. On the Texan side of the ball, you can pivot from anybody on this team, I would. Singletary, like he's back being the man, but against this front, I'm not a fan of him. And then you have the backup Case Keenum. I do like the Cleveland Browns defense. That helps. But on the Houston side, kind of, pivoting away from all of their offensive starters in this week.
Lions versus the Vikings. This is a 47-point over-under with Miami getting 3 points. Honestly, I don't really think there's too much in depth to get into with this matchup. It's a start your studs type situation. If you got Golf, you've been starting them, keep starting them. If you got St. Brown, you've been starting them, keep starting them. Same thing with Monty and Gibbs. Minnesota side of the ball. You're going to start Jefferson. You're going to start Addison. If you're in a pinch, go back to the well with Chandler. I don't expect him to get the same results as he did last week, but I do see him being worth the start, if that makes sense. And Nick Mullins, that's going to be a spot start in a 2 QB league. Not really expecting much in a 1 QB league as far as that matchup is concerned. Seattle Seahawks going up against the Titans, 41.5 point over under. What you got there?
Geno and the receivers.
Okay.
I start those guys confidently against this Tennessee back end. With the running game, I would, if you got Kenneth Walker, you got to play him, right? There's no really, sneaky guys on this side. And it's funny, I like JSN better with Locke than I do with Geno.
Okay.
On the other side,
Because Geno got the long ball a little bit better than Locke did, so the intermediate passes won't be there quite as much. Okay, that makes sense. I see where you're going.
You got to play on the other end. You got to play Derrick Henry, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel different if Tannehill goes versus if it's Levis? Or are you still just looking at Henry?
I think I'm still looking at Henry because he's all they got. And not just that. I mean, I like Hopkins less with Tannehill than I did with Levis.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you're right.
So if you
That
do
makes
have
sense.
D-Hop, some of the things you've been seeing the last couple of weeks maybe differently if Tannehill's at the helm, because we've seen the kind of games he's had with him.
True.
Still not playing, but this is a good secondary from Seattle. The kid Weatherspoon is playing lights out this year. He'll probably be on him a good bit of this game. So I think you want to temper your expectations on that. Not a fan of anyone else on this team. If you're in a deep, deep league, Tajay Spears is good, but any other pass catchers, then I'm not a fan of on the Tennessee side.
Colts versus the Falcons, 44.5 point over under, and Indy is getting 1 point. The Falcons are such a tricky team to try to prognosticate with because their coaching situation is just abysmal, in my humble opinion. Arthur Smith, I don't know why Arthur Blanks has any faith in him at all. They have the pieces for this offense to look a whole lot better than it has, but it just doesn't. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You don't even have to pay me that much money. Most GMs make, maybe me. You can give me 100,000. I'll take
do it for the love of the game, huh?
I got you. Trust me. I get this team be a playoff team next year.
They should be this year. I mean, they got the pieces.
They do.
It's the coach.
They do.
But yeah, I guess I can't trust Robinson. I told y'all at the beginning of the year, regardless of his talent, he going to the Falcons, and his coach is his coach. And you just never know what's going to happen week to week, and that's exactly what's happened this year. So I mean, there's really nobody on the Falcons I can actually trust. Depending on who you have, you got to do what you got to do. But there's nobody that I would be chomping at the bit to start. Indy, if Taylor's out there, start him. Minshew has been one of those guys kind of like Browning. He's a backup, but he's been putting up starter numbers. So I'm assuming that Pittman is going to be good to go. He took a nasty hit. I know he had, he was out the rest of the game, concussion protocol, all that good stuff. But I haven't heard anything else about him, being iffy. But I also didn't see anything about him practicing, so that there really wasn't any news at all about him. But if he goes,
they had trials receivers this week, so that's a sign that.
Ooh, okay.
They had some guys. Jarvis Landry guys as well.
Okay. That'll be interesting to see how that works out. I wouldn't be surprised if T.Y. Hilton came on back. He definitely know the playbook. We'll see how that goes. But Taylor, maybe I don't have as much confidence in Minshew without Pittman. Alec Pierce is a guy that I would pivot to if Pittman is definitely out.
But
He'll be
Josh
the wide
Downs.
receiver one out there. Say again?
But Josh Downs.
Yeah, he's a stardom if you have to. He's in the same boat as Flowers for me. I think he's going to be really, really good, but he's on again, off again. And in the playoffs, I would attempt to not deal with those type guys if I don't have to. But if Pittman is out, yeah, he may be a good player as well. I can see that. Packers versus Panthers. This is a 37-point over under. Carolina's getting 5 points. What you got on this one?
Speaking of Hubbard, I like Hubbard in this game going against this weak Green Bay run defense, but it's funny that Carolina's a weak run defense themselves. But the Packers haven't shown the ability to run the ball effectively, even
They
against
haven't.
teams, right? So if you have Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon, I definitely recommend that you pivot away from these guys. Jordan Love, he's a roller coaster. This team is playing better on the back end now that the return of J.C. Horn. So tricky. Oh man. Carolina side, like I said, Hubbard. Of course, it's like Hubbard and a bus. If you got Thielen, you must play Thielen as well. But I wouldn't feel confident playing any other guys on that side. Pivot away, Green Bay side.
You got Thielen as a must play?
No, I say I wouldn't. No, not a must play. I say you must play him, like, because what do you have? Because for the guy.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Okay. Okay.
That's when I say must play. I mean, not like he's going to be like. No, I mean like. What are the other?
If you got to, right.
Nathan Thielen, chances are, it's like this going down. As far as the rest of your roster.
I got you.
But he's a favorite for Bryce Young. He's a favorite target. But so I mean, you got to at this point. You just can't get too cute. What I'm saying? It's one of them guys you just got to play.
Commanders going up against the Jets. Another 37-point over under with Washington getting 3 points. This is going to be an interesting game. I don't know that I trust either one of the offenses. The Jets defense is good enough to shut down Washington, and the Jets offense is bad enough to not need a good defense to shut them down. So I honestly, I don't want to play anybody in this game. Keep it a buck. In a pinch.
Well, I tell you what, in a pinch,
Gibson, in a pinch,
Wilson.
maybe.
Garrett Wilson.
Well, yeah.
Secondary for Washington is horrendous. And
Yeah.
I mean, being that he does get the targets, he gonna eventually break. But he's the only guy, period, on both sides. I mean, that you probably feel confident in playing. That's at any position.
Yeah, this is just a bad game. If you depending on any of these guys, then I mean, it's an awesome job that you've done with the rest of your roster, just making it this far into the playoffs. Honestly, if you're dependent on any of these guys, you got the Jaguars going up against the Buccaneers. The Jags are getting 1 point and a 43-point over under. What you got here?
Jags Buccaneers continue to ride the hot hand of Baker Mayfield. Hey,
Yeah.
Matt, are you watching? Mike Evans. Yeah, continue to ride that hot hand with Shad White as well. He could very well be a playoff winner for you. Probably helped you win last week. That three-headed monster. I love it. On the Jag side, I mean, you just got to play the stud that you got, ETN. He got you this far. You got to roll with it. But other than that, you might want to temper everything else. The secondary to Tampa Bay is very bad. So Ridley, he'd probably be peppered with some
But
targets.
CJ Beathard ain't good if Lawrence ends up sitting down with that concussion. Because that ain't nothing you can will your way through. Either the doctor say you good or they don't. So that can be kind of scary.
So I'm still going to play CJ in my league if I have to, being that this because of the secondary is bad for Tampa. But that's the only reason, not no other reason.
Gotcha.
With CJ, I mean, he is a veteran. He has started games in his league.
Yeah.
But
For your squad.
yeah, 49ers for sure. So but you gotta ride the three-headed monster, man, that Tampa Bay has going on with confidence
Ca-
too.
Okay. Cardinals versus the Bears. 43-point over under. Arizona's getting 4 points. I believe that this is going to be a get back game for Fields. He's been hearing the chirps. He
Man.
he's
Are you
he
hold up. Is this
Second.
coming from Ohio State? Or is this real is this real football you know
I'll say this: the Arizona defense isn't impressive to me. And with what I just saw last week against a much, much, much tougher defense, I expect him to do better against Arizona than he did against Cleveland. And if he does better than he did against Cleveland, well, that's a pretty good fantasy day. I want to say he got close to 20 points, if I'm not mistaken. He might have been like right at 18 or something like that,
I mean
if
that
I'm not mistaken. Say again?
I mean those points with those legs.
It don't matter. They
I'm just
still count.
asking. I'm just asking.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know he got last week against Cleveland, he ended up putting up no, he ended up putting up about 13 points against Cleveland. So
And how many yards in there rushing?
hold on, let me go back. 40 pass attempts, 19 completions for 166 yards, 1 TD. The 2 interceptions hurt him in this league more than anything because of the amount of points that you get taken off interceptions. He had 7 rushing attempts for 30 yards, so he didn't get a whole bunch as far as rushing was concerned. But Cleveland versus Arizona's defense is like night and day, humble opinion. So if he was able to put up 13 points in this particular league that I had him in and going against Cleveland, I fully expect for him to be able to put up 20 points against Arizona. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Okay.
And that's basically just another touchdown. That's feasible in my humble opinion. And there is a degree of Ohio State fandom there as well. I probably do have a little bit more, I would say, faith, but I can't judge him against Cleveland, which is, in my humble opinion, the number 1 defense right now in the league. I mean, he put up 24 points against Detroit, who's a pretty good defense. So I don't think Arizona's defense is as good as Detroit. So I expect him to be somewhere between where he was against Detroit and where he was against Cleveland. DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Arizona side, I guess Kyler Murray, McBride for sure. McBride has been getting a ton of targets. I think he had like double-digit targets his last game. So he's becoming the favorite target of Kyler Murray. So in a when you're looking at an atmosphere where tight ends are very much not dependable, even some of the better ones, give me the guy that's getting a ton of targets. I'm actually looking at starting him over Kittle this week, just based on the amount of targets that he's been getting. That's more dependable than anything else. What'll happen with the targets, that's different. But I mean, 20 to 20 and red zone, he's the first look now. So I kind of got to roll with McBride for sure as far as the Arizona side is concerned. James Conner's been doing his thing. Even against some of the tougher defenses, he's been able to still get in the end zone. So I like Conner as long as he's healthy. That's pretty much all I would say I'm willing to start during the playoffs as far as this setup is concerned. We got the Cowboys going up against the Dolphins. This is a 50-point over-under, the highest over-under of the week, if I'm not mistaken. And Dallas is getting 1.5. What we got on this one?
Play all your guys.
Basically. Basically.
You know, the guys you've been riding with all year. Dak, Lamb, Pollard.
That's also kind of telling me that Vegas feels like Hill is going to be back, or this over under I don't think will be that high. So
Yeah, he's still chasing 2,000, so more than likely he will. We just seen Cook had a explosive game against the Cowboys, so I think
Mostert might be a league winner.
yeah, he's
But
been
that's why I was asking you earlier, though. Do you sit Achane based on the fact of he's more in the neighborhood of what James Cook is than Mostert is? Like, so that's why I was asking you, do you risk not starting him against this defense, just seeing what Cook did against this defense? Or I mean, like not 9 carries may be enough to win your week against this run defense based on what they did against James Cook. So that's the part that was kind of
I can see Achane. I mean, I want to see him. Like I said, you can't afford it. You know what I'm saying? You want to see him do well before you really be comfortable play him. Because people that's playing him are playing him in front of some guys that have the backfield to themselves. So
okay. Achane or Zeke?
well, we don't know if Stevenson gonna come back this week.
Stevenson ain't back.
We don't know that yet.
Yeah, we do.
They say he's out. They already ruled him out.
He ain't practicing, and he ain't been there in the last two weeks now.
Let's see if he practices tomorrow. But
Let's say Stevenson is out.
I'll go with Zeke
Okay.
because he's playing against Denver, right?
Right. And that's actually the next matchup. So Patriots versus the Broncos, 34.5 over under. Very low over under. The Patriots are getting 6.5. Go ahead and speak on their situation.
I love Hunter Henry this game. The Broncos are the worst team, either worst or second worst team in the league against the tight end. Him and Zappi has seen to have a rapport. He's been scoring touchdowns over the last couple of weeks. Had 2, I think, last week. So I do like Ezekiel Elliott. The Broncos give up a lot on the run and also in the air in this game. On the other side of the ball, let's go somewhere else. Javonte Williams is not. He hasn't done anything for you. Don't look for him now. Not against this defensive front. The secondary for the Patriots has been playing a lot better with the new additions that has come afold. Russ hasn't had a bad season, but this isn't a game I'm very comfortable with playing Russ in. So honestly, I'm not a fan of any Broncos skill players at all on my fantasy teams at all. If I could pivot, I'll go to someone else. No Judy.
I think I trust Sutton to
I say that secondary been playing pretty high.
They have, but Sutton can normally get the points that you need him to have for the week in like 2 plays.
Sutton, you got to play him, right? I'm not telling you sit Sutton for Palmer. You know what I'm saying? But temper your expectations on against this defense. What I'm saying. I'm not saying sit Javonte, but if you ever, like I said, I play Cuba Hubbard over Javonte Williams, me personally.
Okay.
So if you have another option that's kind of right there, I'll probably go that way because of this matchup.
We got 3 Christmas games. We have Raiders versus the Chiefs. 41.5 over under. Vegas is getting 10 points. Don't expect for the Raiders to look anything like they did going up against the Chargers. That's all I can tell you. I don't know if Jacobs is going to be back. Haven't heard a lot about that situation. Kansas City's defense has actually been stout this year, so I expect the Raiders to go back to looking like they were before. I expect the Chiefs to look pretty much like they have been before. Start Mahomes, obviously. I don't have to tell you that. Start Kelsey. Rice. Your boy Rice has been on one. He's the rookie, but he's week by week building a lot more rapport. He's a guy that is a must start for me at this point. I think he's the best wide receiver on the team at this point. Not the best pass catcher. That's still Kelsey, but most definitively the best wide receiver at this point. So those are the guys I would feel most comfortable with there. If Pacheco goes, which they're talking like he might be able to, I'd feel comfortable with him. If he doesn't go, I'll feel comfortable with McKinnon. So, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And McKinnon in a pinch in a flex spot, I would feel comfortable with as well if Pacheco doesn't go. We got the Giants going up against the Eagles. This is a 42.5 point over-under. The Giants are getting 12 points. Yeah. What you got on this one?
All right, them Eagles. They got some get back. They're on the slide.
Yeah.
Giants is the perfect recipe for that. But I do actually like DeVito this game. Playing against,
I like those 12 points. I can tell you that. I think the game's going to be closer than what the spread is looking like.
Yeah, and I mean, being that the Philadelphia Eagles, again, they back in is like 29th in the league against the pass. And DeVito will find a way to we've seen Waller come back. He's looking all right.
Yeah.
I think they'll find a way to be able to, move the ball a lot more. So, of course, if you got Barkley, these guys, you play them. But DeVito and Barkley, the only guys I'm a little more confident in. And Waller, the pass catchers, that could be anybody. So it's kind of like a carousel with that.
True.
On the other end, of course, if you got Devonta, AJ, Hurts, of course, you play those guys per usual. Nothing. There's no hidden guys here.
All right, I'm going to give you a back-to-back because it's talking about your squad. We got the Ravens going up against the 49ers. It's the game of the week. It's the late game on Christmas. Make sure you get your nap in during the Eagles-Giants game so you're ready for the Ravens-49ers game. 47-point over-under. Baltimore is getting 5.5 points. I can't wait for this game. I really feel like whichever team wins this game, the quarterback of said team is going to end up being your league MVP this year. I think Lamar can kind of propel himself to MVP status. I think Purdy is already there. He just got to maintain. And the winner or loser of this game is going to go a long way with that. So with that being said, what are your thoughts on this game?
Still bird hunting season for the 49ers. And this is the Ravens, the last bird we got to chop up. Man, you talk about league winner McCaffrey. This guy been probably winning you games all season long.
Facts.
I don't know any McCaffrey owners that don't have a winning season. I haven't made it to the playoffs. But with that being said, I'll just play everybody here. Everybody, all the guys, the notables. There's no really tricky plays here. I do think that they probably, with the kid Mitchell's down, so they're probably going to run a lot more Edwards, a lot more
Hill,
a little bit more Hill.
And they brought Gordon out the practice squad. They brought him up to the 53.
Not concerned about that. But this run game probably won't get to see very much. Isaiah Likely probably not much, but the 49ers back end can be susceptible at times. They've been playing well lately. But you may see Odell probably could sneak in there here, or Flowers probably could sneak in there, get it,
How you feel about Likely? You brought his name up, but what's your?
I like him.
Are San Fran shut down against the tight end, or how do you think that's going to work out?
Yeah, Fred Warner and the guys. Yeah, I'm going that way. So temper your expectations on Likely. If he's in your league, there's some guys available. I probably feel more comfortable playing over him. Just like Hunter Henry speak of. Maybe even Fire Move. But I do like all the 49ers. And I think Lamar gonna have this can go two ways. He can not do well at all.
Okay.
Or depends on what the defensive coordinator does. Because if they play a lot of man, then most quarterbacks tend to
He's gonna run a lot. Yeah.
And so if he does have a good game, to be with his legs. I think they can get to him early and often to disrupt some things.
And that pretty much wraps it up for this week. We'll be back to you on next week to go ahead and wrap up these championships, and we'll kind of go from there. But for this evening, we out.